So watch this now, because in a few minutes' time, the closing arguments are set to begin. In the trial of Karmelo Anthony, a Texas teenager accused of stabbing and killing a competitor at a high school track meet. Anthony faces life in prison if convicted of murder. Brooke Taylor on this trial since the beginning, live outside the Collins County Courthouse in McKinney, Texas. And Brooke, hello.
Hi, Bill. Well, this trial has moved along a lot quicker than really anyone expected. The defense rested after calling 6 witnesses and ultimately decided not to call up Karmelo Anthony to the stand to testify in his own murder trial. So just as a recap right here, Karmelo Anthony is charged with murder. He pleaded not guilty after admitting to fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a high school track meet last April. The two teens didn't know each other and attended different schools. Investigators say the confrontation started after Anthony was sitting under a tent belonging to Metcalf's team. The defense has spent days arguing that Anthony acted in self-defense after Metcalf pushed him first. And now the question is whether they gave jurors enough evidence to believe it. The defense called one of Anthony's former teammates. He described Anthony as, quote, distraught after the stabbing, said he heard him crying and say, "I told him not to touch me." Now, prosecutors called 21 witnesses, including student after student, who testified that Anthony was repeatedly asked to leave and that he was the aggressor. Now, one witness testified that Metcalf told Anthony, quote, "I'm not going to fight you at a track meet, dude." Another witness testified Anthony responded, "F y'all, I'm not going to leave." And later, quote, "touch me and find out." Now, legal experts say the judge could allow the jury to consider the lesser charge of manslaughter in addition to murder. And if the jury doesn't reach a verdict by the end of the day, the judge said they're going to be sequestered. They won't be allowed to watch TV or have their phones or social media. We are just waiting for those closing arguments now to start, Bill.
Got it. Thank you, Brooke. McKinney, Texas, Collin County, just north of Dallas. We are waiting and watching from here. Thank you. Dana.
And John Yoo is a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and UC Berkeley law professor and a friend. Thanks for being here. Here's something from one of the witnesses. This is the witness being asked, saying, "I think Karmelo was in the wrong." The prosecutor asked, "Did Karmelo Anthony provoke the confrontation?" And the witness said, "Yes." I know it's not unusual for defendants not to take the stand. Did that surprise you at all?
It does, because it sounds like the defense didn't put on very many witnesses at all, Dana. And the key to being able to put on a case of self-defense to justify a killing that everyone, including the defendant, had admitted he did, that he conducted, is that he has to show that he could reasonably believe that it was necessary for him to use force in order to stop an imminent attack on him. And so that depends on what did he see? What did he think? What was his reasonable belief about what was to happen? Now, it's the case we saw, for example, in the O.J. Simpson trial, where the defendant didn't testify and eventually got acquitted. But I think it's very risky. I think the jury here would want to know what was in Anthony's mind, and they're going to be left really with the mountains of evidence that looks like the prosecution put on instead.
Right. And here is something from the Frisco Police Office talking about the laws in regards to knives, saying that he testified that knives under 5 inches are not illegal to carry in Texas. While they are against school policy, they are not illegal. Would that at all have helped the defense?
I got to tell you, Dana, I spent the last semester living in Texas, and it's not just knives that people are carrying around for self-defense. I mean, in Texas, you're allowed to walk around with guns to protect yourself. So it's not the weapon itself. It's whether he was justified in pulling it out and whether instead he could have just walked away, or whether he saw enough threatening violence that was going to turn deadly coming towards him. But having the knife itself is not a sign that he went into that tent under Texas law to hurt somebody. It's a reasonable thing to have to protect yourself in Texas.
About a year and 2 months ago, Austin's brother was on the Will Cain show. It was a very heartbreaking interview. Then we played just a little bit of it for you here.
And then I whip my head around, and then all of a sudden I see him run down the bleach, just grabbing his chest. He just blood rushing out. You know, he said, you got stabbed, you got stabbed. First, I froze for half a second. I didn't know what to do. And then I saw him about to fall. I went to go over there. I grabbed him. I see. Let's stop.
So that family seeking justice, the jury now will have this. How long do you think it will take them to decide? And will you be able to read any tea leaves if it comes back quickly or if they take a while?
Well, Dana, usually the trial lawyers, handbook says if it's a quick verdict, it usually means a conviction. That if it takes a while, there might be one person or two people who are holding out against a unanimous verdict. The evidence, I have to say, looks pretty overwhelming against Mr. Anthony. But look, this is the beauty of the American jury system, is that you have the jurors there, and any one person can prevent the conviction. Jury has to be unanimous. And so I don't think it's safe to predict what will happen or not happen. One other important thing your correspondent mentioned was that they could always choose not to convict him of murder, but convict of a lesser charge like manslaughter. And I wouldn't be surprised if the jury maybe went that route here instead.
All right, John Yoo, thank you for joining us today. We'll watch that jury as it gets underway. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.